Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast channel. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, always enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast, the match recaps, and all the other content on the channel, of course. Follow us on social media, PSP on Twitter, PitchsidePod on Instagram, and you can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Welcome to the CAF Champions League review, round 2, and it's the episode 4 of CAF CL Road. You're welcome, join us. Of course, this round still has one match, of course, to be played later between CR Wydad and Mamelodi Sundowns in Group B, that is, because of COVID restrictions. And of course, there is a match between Wydad Casablanca and Kaizer Chiefs in Group C that's going to be played in accordance to round 1, but let's get straight into what happened in the second round of that, and we kickstart from Group A, of course, and boy, was there some serious bombs in that Group A. We had two matches played at literally the same time between Simba SC from Tanzania, the team that defeated Vita Club away from home 1-0 in the first round, and Al-Ahly hosting Vita Club. Two teams coming off, of course, of losing matches, of losing efforts. 3-0 for Al-Ahly against Al-Ahly and 1-0 for Vita Club against Simba. And we start from the champions of Africa, Al-Ahly, who was stunned in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania by Simba. 1-0 it is in that game. Al-Ahly didn't come to that game. I seriously felt like they were absent from this game for some reason. They didn't show up. It wasn't. I think it wasn't even close to some sort of great performance from Al-Ahly. It really wasn't. I'm sorry, it really wasn't a great performance. Simba, I think, outplayed them in the first half in particular. They tried to play the simplistic of simplistic approaches in terms of football. They didn't try to make it too much complex. They didn't try to play complicated football. They just tried to play, simplistic style, playing a flat 4-4-2, simple 4-4-2. When a player finds a space, they will pass the ball to him. If he's not in space, they won't pass to him. They didn't try to make things complicated. And, Al-Ahly helped them, I think, by, dropping off at the wrong time later on in the first half. Of course, the goal coming in the 31st minute by Luis Jose Mikisoni, who had a terrific game, by the way. He was incredible. He was moving on that left-hand side. He was really an annoyance for the Al-Ahly's defence. He was seriously moving, penetrating, playing from right to left and in the middle as well. And in the second half, Al-Ahly pretty much had one big chance, and that was late on in the game. It wasn't exactly, that was their only shot on target in the whole game. It was in the 90th minute by Mohamed Sharif, who sent a shot travelling into the goalkeeper's arm. Manula of Simba, who I think saved the points for his club relatively, but overall it was a deserving performance from Simba. A really, really good victory for the Tanzanian side, who now go top of the table with 6 points. Unbelievable turn of events, and second to them, and that swiftly transitions us to the game in Omdurman between Al-Ahly and Vita Club. Al-Ahly, of course, scoring first in the 8th minute by El Samani Sadaddin, scoring the first goal opening, and we thought, well, it's fine. It came in a period where Al-Ahly started strong. They had the momentum going for them, and then, of course, it was a complete turn around for the next 30 minutes of the first half. Vita Club scoring to managing to score 2 goals in quick succession. Mukukiani equalising in the 28th minute, and from the spot, Juma Chabani scoring the second goal for Vita Club. Both sides were playing, a straight 4-4-2, if you want to ask me. Really, it looked like a flat 4-4-2 from Al-Hilal, and the diamond one from Vita Club, who managed to score another goal, of course, in the early goings of the second half, and then late on in the 83rd minute, a ridiculous mistake, by the way, from Al-Marikh's goalkeeper, leaving his net way too early. And despite having a terrific game against Al-Ahly, he did have a ridiculous game here against Vita Club, gifting them the 4th goal in someone, and an attack, of course, course, like Mukukiani on his brace on the day, scoring the second goal for him on the day, and the fourth, of course, for Vita Club, against Zamalek, giving them the first 3 points of that campaign, and now they're second behind Simba, of course, on goal difference, as they play Al-Ahly next in the third round of that competition. And that, of course, would be certainly a big task for them when they face them on the 5th of March away from home in Egypt. That would be for Vita Club. For Al-Ahly, of course, their next game in this competition is going to be against Simba, and that is going to be home and away. First, it's going to be in Sudan, and then it will be in Tanzania. The first game in Sudan is going to be really hard, because if Simba showed anything against Vita Club, is that they know how to play at home. So 6 points for Simba, 3 points for Vita Club, 3 points for Al-Ahly, and 0 points for Al-Ahly. And it looks like the Sudanian side is going to be sent packing in that competition and is not going to make it through. And that is really, I mean, unfortunate, let's be fair. Let's get now into Group B. Of course, one match was played from that Group B. It was the match. It was separated for some reason on Wednesday on its own. Al-Hilal Omdurman played to a goalless draw against TP Mazembe, a 10-man TP Mazembe. Later on in the game, Cedric Zemba was sent off, and this is the second goalless draw for Mazembe. I don't know what's the positives that they could take from this one. Probably the fact that they, didn't concede goals, the fact that they have a clean sheet to their name, but I don't know. Aside from that, really, the game was pretty subpar, not a lot of attempts. Al-Hilal Omdurman had more possession. They tried a little bit stronger in the first half. Then Mazembe, were a little bit better in the second half, obviously, realizing that a goalless draw would just not work for them. They tried to go forward, but they didn't manage a lot of things to their name in the second half, and, they failed to muster any effort. No shots on target in the second half from either side. And for, Mazembe, who had more possession and who had sort of a little bit more guile to them in the second half, they couldn't quite manage to score. The front man for them, Adam Busu, who was substituted in the second half, Isak Chibango, Etienne Mayombo, Mustafa Kouyaté. Mustafa Kouyaté, the players didn't move a lot. That's just about it. They didn't move a lot. Obviously, the temperature, the situation of the game in Sudan, and the sort of weather affects the game a lot, and it's a common sort of factor in Africa in the football, in the Champions League in particular. But certainly this shouldn't be an excuse for a team like Mazembe, a favourite to win the competition, to play that poorly, because they are, again, just like Al-Ahly, they can't have this excuse of weather and the hot weather and whatever, because again, they experienced it. They have 5 Champions Leagues to their name. They can't complain about that now. For Al-Hilal, probably they will take the goalless draw as a positive more, but considering the fact that they played better in the first half, I don't know. And by the way, I don't know what is wrong with the Sudanese team and playing 4-4-2. Like, Al-Mariq played 4-4-2, and Al-Hilal plays 4-4-2. Like, try to change formation, try to be more dynamic, and against a Congolese side, like, seriously, try to be more effective, try to be more, mobile, I think, overall. Al-Hilal didn't have the proper finishing boots on, Mazembe as well. It was played to a goalless draw. I think it was a boring game, and I had to watch it just because I needed to take a look at how these both clubs are going to be looking in the next round. Of course, Wydad is going to be playing Mamelodi Sundowns on Sunday. That's a game in hand for them, and, it's going to be played in Tanzania because of COVID restrictions, which doesn't give Wydad properly the advantage. And for Mamelodi Sundowns, I don't know exactly how things are going to be looking for them after they defeated Al-Hilal. Of course, they are quite favourites to go onto this group on top. I will be quite shocked if Mazembe do not go through on top of this group. It could happen that they don't go through in the first place, but depending on the result of Wydad and Mamelodi Sundowns, a lot of this group's direction probably is going to be determined and identified. So with that, it's a goalless draw that keeps Sundowns on top, of course, before playing Wydad on Sunday. 3 points on top. TP Mazembe 2 points. Wydad and Al-Hilal Omdurman 1 point each. Wydad, of course, could go top with the victory. They would go joint second with Mazembe with 2 points, and of course they will stay in their place if they lose that game. And of course, my wishes for CL Wydad as a Tunisian, of course, to the Algerian neighbours. Hopefully they could manage to defeat Sundowns against all odds really, and travel restrictions, they're changing the venue to Tanzania. I don't know why they don't give them the choice to just choose the stadium where they're playing in, but hopefully they win, hopefully they make it safely out of there. A draw maybe, but if they could win, they should in any way, shape or form. From Group B to Group C, of course, Wydad Athletic Club played their first game in the African Champions League finally, after the the rescheduling of the first game, which is going to be taking place as well on Sunday against Kaizer Chiefs. That game is going to be played on in Burkina Faso as well for some reason. It's a weird situation overall, but let's not care about that. Let's care about the game we have in hand. Wydad Casablanca went to Angola, faced Atlético Petróleos de Luanda, or Petro Atletico, as they are properly mostly called in English language, and they played to a hard win. It was a hard-earned win. They missed a penalty. Both sides, in fact, missed penalties. Al-Wydad were first, of course. By the way, they had, Tignauti, one of their defenders going out injured. Of course, the goalkeeper, because I'm mistaken with another Tignauti. The goalkeeper went down injured inside 12 minutes and he had to be substituted. Yanis Hanin was the second goalkeeper and he was brought on inside 12 minutes. 37 minutes in, Ayoub El-Kabi gets a penalty, but the goalkeeper from Petro Atletico saves it. Antonio Signori, who had a great game, by normal standards. He had a couple of saves to make in this game as well, and also Yanis Hanin had a couple of saves to make as well. And in the second half, Ayoub El-Kabi scored and back to make it 1-0 for Al-Wydad, despite the fact that they were not exactly the best side overall. Like in that second half in particular, they were not. They only shot on target in the first half. One shot on target in the first half was the penalty that was missed. 2 shots on target in the second half, including, of course, the goal from Ayoub El-Kabi overall. And, Petróleos after that managed to miss a penalty by Job, who is number 11, of course, the captain, the skipper, missing a penalty inside the last 15 minutes of the game to end it 1-0 for Al-Wydad. Big, important victory for a side that looks like they're not doing that fine in the Moroccan league. I mean, they are top of the table, yes, but they also, recently lost, and their form isn't exactly hitting on all cylinders when it comes to performance. I'm not saying the results, because the results are great, but in terms of performance, they're just not firing as you expect them to. I still expect them to, keep up the performance and go increasingly high, round by round in this Champions League. As for Petróleos, this is their second loss in as many games in the Champions League, and they don't look fine. In my opinion, it looks very likely that they're going to be, ousted of this competition, and they don't have any chance of going through. Kaizer Chiefs probably have, and that, of course, swiftly transitioned us again to the second game. Kaizer Chiefs hosted Horoya. It was a goalless draw. It was a textbook goalless draw, I would say. Not a lot of excitement. It was one-sided mostly. Kaizer Chiefs had loads of chances. Horoya played a defensive game mostly. They tried to just, sit deep. Played a 4-1-4-1, which almost makes it a 4-4-2. That just changes its shape defensively, and they sit deep. They try to defend. They defended well. And in these cases, again, for a side that's travelling away, they get the clean sheet, which is the most important thing. They hosted Petro Atletico and they got a 2-0 victory against them, and they went away, and all what matters to them, obviously, is just the goalless draw and the point to keep them top of the table. And they have a big game against Al-Wydad, of course, coming on in the third round of this competition, of course, as Horoya travel to Morocco to face Wydad Athletic Club, of course, and then they host, of course, in reverse in the back and forth fixture. Now Horoya top of the table, 4 points, 3 points for Al-Wydad from one game, of course, one game in hand. Kaizer Chiefs 1 point from one game in hand still, and Petro de Luanda are 2 games in and 0 points in this competition. And finally, we close off with Group D, the group that really is the reason why I'm excited about doing this Champions League reviews and previews, and it is the group where Esperance Tunis, of course the team that I support, are top of the table with 4 points out of that game against MC Alger, but we're not going to get to that now. We'll leave it just a bit later on the back burner, and we're going to be talking about the runners-up of the Champions League last year, Zamalek, the team that eliminated Esperance as well in the quarterfinal, facing against Tungit from Senegal, a team that is currently 7th in the league, but with 3 games in hand, so they could go on top. Faced them away from home in Senegal. I mean, a goalless draw that, suits Tungit, I think, more than Zamalek. This is the second draw for Zamalek. For a team like Tungit, who didn't dream even of playing Champions League football, they had quite a decent defensive performance. Their 4 defenders were great. The centre-halves in particular were really, really awesome. Maybe the right back, wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders. Ashraf Ben Sharqi, who's on his side, had him more than once. But they didn't play enough balls into the box to make it count. And obviously when you have 2 centre-halves as towering, really, as the Tungate centre-halves, you don't really expect a lot of balls coming into the box. And, with Zamalek trying, they tried, but mostly in the second half. The first half was pretty slow from their side, but in the second half, they managed to find their rhythm a little bit until a key change of momentum for them in that game. Abdullah Guma, of course, the prime left back for Zamalek, made it in for Ahmed Abou Fatouh, and that was a change for the worse, I think, for Zamalek, because he was about the only player giving them depth and width on the pitch. And when they got them out, they didn't find any more solutions. The left-hand side was pretty much, paralysed, and they had to rely on Hamza Mathlouthi, a Tunisian right-back, on that right-hand side, and trying to rely upon him even more, as they're missing their prime right-back in Hazem Aman. So overall, bad draw for Zamalek, because this is the second goalless draw, the second game where they can't score. Obviously, they can excuse with the stadium, the heat, and overall, but this is normal excuse in Africa, and they have no place whatsoever really for a side as experienced as Zamalek, as entrenched in the African legacy as Zamalek. And speaking of African legacy, Esperance went on to Algiers, facing MC Alger. There was a whole host of problems ahead of this game, whether the game was go ahead to schedule, whether Belouizdad are going to be playing in Algeria or not, and then of course there was issues with MC Alger's financial situation, whether the players are going to be playing the game in the first place or not. In the end, the game was played, and it was a draw that I didn't like. As a fan of Esperance, and as personally, I didn't like that draw. I had a lot of worries about the left backs in particular, and both full backs were worrying me, but the left back in particular left too much space. He was the kind of, imagine Robertson in Liverpool, how he would leave space behind him, and, the wingers are going to be getting through that space. The same happens, and particularly in the goal that MC Alger scored in the 27th minute. Esperance were there hanging about. They had a chance, of course, for that to open the scoring by William Tugui, and missed it. Then, of course, Bilal Ben Saha, former Esperance player on loan to MC Alger's, scores. It was a former man doing the damage here, and then it was the other way around. It was Abdurrahman Ben Gheith, a man who was in MC Alger, doing the damage, of course, via a goal that sparked so much controversy around the African and North African sort of communities, whether it was a foul, whether Ben Gheith got the ball in the first place from the MC Alger's players, but the goal stands, and Esperance played even better in the second half. They had opportunities to win the game in the second half, but they couldn't. Khnisi, the prime striker, missed a couple of chances. Changes were made by the coach, and they weren't effective. Of course, you would take the draw. Away from home, you will take the draw. Mostly unconvincing performance in the first half. In the second half, slightly better, but you need to have, of course, focus now back to the league and back to the next game, which is going to be against Zamalek, of course, at home on March 5th, and in Tunis. So that's a big game you need to watch. MC Alger are going to be having Tungate. They're going to be facing them next in Algiers before traveling to Senegal, so that is going to be interesting for them. This group I think is quite open, and this could really go anywhere. Like Tungith could make a shock in the system if they beat one of the 3 other teams on their home turf, but until then we'll see how this group ends out. Again, it's one of the the hardest group obviously in the Champions League, in the African Champions League, and hopefully Esperance would manage somehow to get out on top of that group and go through to the quarterfinal on top of that group. I don't really see a lot of signs that there are favourites in this competition. The big favourites, the big guns, are not exactly firing on all cylinders. No Wydad, Al-Ahly lost, Zamalek drawn, Esperance are not particularly great, but maybe they are the best of the bunch by a long shot. At least they had the game where they dominated, where they performed really well in general. But I'm still waiting, of course, as always. I wait and see how things pan out in this competition. That's it from me for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Thank you for watching / listening to this African podcast episode. Like, share, comment on the video. Always subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these podcast episodes, the normal podcast episodes that drop in the morning, and follow us on social media, site PSP, on Twitter, page SitePod, on Instagram. Find these episodes on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform. And until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.